Mass communication serves three purposes in society, starting with informing. Mass communication can tell you what's going on. Yesterday, I was in Trustful eating ice cream with my kids. There was a very loud boom that shook the windows and rattled the floor. Nobody quite knew what it was. Immediately, you go to your mass media to ask them what happened. That's the basic task of mass communication. After that is entertaining, to keep you happy or at least not bored. And then the last thing is persuasion, which is to sell you stuff. Sell you stuff and sell you ideas. As you can see, these things are not mutually exclusive. It's nearly always useful to entertain as you persuade, and it's sometimes useful to entertain even as you inform. Think about this class. Hopefully, you learn some things while also getting some sort of entertainment value out of it. The problem, as you have no doubt figured out, very frequently entertainment gets in the way of informing. Sometimes we're so busy trying to keep your attention that we forget to actually inform you properly, or we have to dumb down information to keep you entertained. Think about television news. Did you learn anything? Or is it just there to keep you distracted? What makes mass communication different from other types? We've already talked about the fewest number of senders and the largest number of receivers. Mass communication requires a channel. For the record, channel doesn't necessarily, you probably think of broadcasting television specifically when you hear the word channel. Mass communication requires a tool. It just means a device. That can be a newspaper, that can be TV, radio, your phone, billboard, film screen to deliver that message. Therefore, that makes mass communication a mediated form of communication. There is something between you and whoever is receiving the message that you're trying to send out. Think about the way that we're broadcasting this lecture today. There is a lot of equipment physically between me and whoever is actually receiving the communication. In fact, that word media literally just means mediated or to go between. Two groups or two people can't get along. Frequently, they seek a mediator who literally goes between conflicting groups. You may have heard the term medium referring to a psychic. That refers to someone who goes between people and the spirit world. In this case, the word media or medium just refers to what's between you and your audience as a communicator. The channel is an extension of a human. That's a human body part specifically. A phone is an extension of your ears, therefore it lets you hear things far away. A TV is an extension of your eye, which lets you see things that are far away. You can obviously argue that the phone and the TV are essentially the same thing at this point, but you get the idea. A channel is an extension of the person, whoever's receiving the message. What else makes mass communication different? It's one-way communication. So, go back to that model when we talked about different types of communication. Interpersonal communication is two-way communication. You send a message, you get a response from the other person almost immediately. That response may just be in the form of the face they're making, or that they're not paying attention to you at all. But there is a response. In group communication, you get a response from your receivers. The receivers may be nothing more than silent assent. It may be, if depending on what type of church you go to, it may be some people standing up and clapping and stomping their feet. But there is immediate response, what we call feedback. We'll get to that in just a second. Mass communication is one-way communication. You send a message out, you might not get a response from the audience at all. If you do, it is usually not immediate in the way it is with interpersonal or group communication. If you are a mass communicator, the difference in feedback takes some getting used to. So think about Jimmy Fallon. When he says something to someone on stage, he receives immediate feedback from that person. That is interpersonal communication. He receives nearly immediate feedback from his audience, which is group communication. Jimmy does not necessarily get feedback from you, the member of the TV audience. That is one-way communication. They, in fact, know very few things about the audience at the time of the communication. He does not know them. He certainly does not know them personally. Later on, he'll get to see ratings about the size of the audience and something about its demographic makeup. And if he did something particularly controversial or that got a rise out of the audience, he might get letters or emails or tweets after the show. Now, the internet has made it easier for faster feedback, but rarely does feedback occur in real time. At the time of the specific act of mass communication, it is one way. Specifically, we don't always know what keeps an audience involved or to what extent they're involved. If mass communicators knew what it took to deliver messages that people wanted, we wouldn't have to do all the research that we're going to talk about during this semester. This makes mass communication more difficult than other forms of communication for creating shared meaning. I can look at my wife or my son or my dog and immediately know whether he or she or it understands what I'm saying, and they can do the same for me. And I can adjust my message accordingly. In mass communication, I can't always tell. I don't know whether I'm boring you. I don't know whether people don't understand, and I don't know whether I should shut up until they drive out of the tunnel and can hear me again.